Hello, YouTubers, friends, compatriots, who for shields, desolate, serves, peasants, vassals, minions, meat sacks. I'm useful idiot. Welcome, and let's go to the Eurozone. Talk about this plan. The EU is studying a proposal that would count robots as people for tax purposes, and this is pretty interesting. Of course, fairly predictable that somehow as robotics come into their own, especially this interface with artificial intelligence, that somehow the government would be way ahead of the game trying to figure out a way to tax these new robots. And sure enough, they have. And I'm kind of curious as to how these ideas about taxation would apply to more primitive forms of robotry, for example, automation. But right now, so they're putting together a proposal, and the fact that bureaucrats and governments are thinking about taxing robots means they're going to try and tax robots the first fucking chance they get a chance, first time they get an opportunity. So it says that robots would be considered, quote, electronic persons, unquote, and owners would be liable to pay Social Security for them, along with other rights and obligations that would be granted to these new electronic persons. So once again, that brings in the idea that electronic persons could run the gamut from other forms of automation. I guess my guess would be, considering how governments and bureaucrats would work, is first they would find a way to tax robots when they come into their own, and then once that system was put into place, and they figure out a way to tax all forms of automation, justifying it with these new robot taxes. But that's pretty interesting too, making the owners themselves liable to pay into Social Security, of all things, for these robots. And I can kind of see their reasoning. If you're a neoliberal, you assume that if robots are going to replace humans, then we're going to find ourselves with less and less humans to pay into these Social Security and pension plans around the world, these pyramid schemes. And so that's a very interesting part of this, I'm sure. Businesses would have to declare savings they made in Social Security contributions by using robotics instead of people for tax purposes. So that confirms what I was just speculating on, that they're going to somehow make these robots take the place, at least for tax purposes, for people whose jobs are replaced. So interesting that humans will be replaced by robots, and then the robots will end up paying the taxes. But of course, the people whose jobs have been displaced will probably end up paying taxes as well if they're not on some sort of a universal basic income by then, because of all these evil robots. But how about that? I thought that was an amusing little story about the fact that bureaucrats are already planning to tax robots in the near future. I'm a useful idiot. Don't you be one too?